Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It's Devil's Advocate. It's late. It's usually on a Tuesday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes occasionally Wednesday at 1. It's never been Thursday at 4:35, but better late than never. To some of you, this is your favorite show of the week. This is certainly my favorite show of the week. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with the people that you love doing them with. I am here with the people I love doing this with. Dave from the Irish Hotspur and Johnny Twitter. I'm calling him just Johnny Twitter from these. It's so much easier. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Do you know what, Sean? I needed that pick-me-up yesterday. Not the easiest of victories. You know, Tottenham don't do things the easy way, but I needed that victory yesterday, and I'm quite good in general. Thank you very much for asking. And big up to you, Johnny, and the Spurs Talk Show chat. So big yourselves up.
Great to see you, mate. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, not a huge amount to talk about in the transfer market. It's one of the most transfer deadline duds, I'm going to call it, for a long time. Johnny, mate, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, listen, wasn't for the faint-hearted last night, but this transfer window's been as exciting as watching my grass grow in winter. You know, it's shocking. It really is shocking. I don't really what to say about it, in all honesty. But maybe we're going back to normal times. I expected to see more loans. That's what I expected to see. Not more transfers, more loans. Maybe not even with options. But it seems that not even that's happening, really. I'm talking about.
Well, there might be a couple of stories we can drag up for what's going to come out for the last sort of 6-7 hours of tonight. We're gonna, guys, for those in the chat, welcome. We are going to spend the first sort of 10-15 minutes just doing a quick little review of where we're at with the window, what the opportunities there might be tonight, if any, and reflections on it. And then after that, we're going to spend the last sort of the bulk of the show talking about Tottenham, because last night's game was just one for the annals, one for the archives, an absolutely mind-bendingly crazy game that could have gone either way. I mean, it's not good for my heart, this Ange Ball stuff, but I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. It's beautiful. It's brilliant to watch. It's exactly what I wanted when I didn't want Conte. This stuff is football. This is football. We're going to talk mainly about that. Talk some of the takeaways from Ange, whether or not, you know, was some of the things we saw on the pitch, was it camaraderie or was it immaturity? I want to get these guys' opinions on that, and I think we can get some devil's advocate. We can get some differing takes. Before we get into that, guys, as usual, you know the rules by now. There's 175 of you in the chat. Welcome. Please smash the like button if you haven't already on the channel. It really helps. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and even if you have, double check you're still subscribed. And make sure that you get over to the wonderful boys' channels or Twitter accounts here. We got Dave, the Irish Hotspur. Link is in the description. Link is in the chat. Link will be shared throughout. So make sure you hit the tab there, pop up and open a new tab and get over and show some support to your favorite Irish Tottenham Hotspur fan. And also, whilst we're on the top topic, get over to Johnny, where he grabs the best content in the world and everyone rips him off and doesn't give him the credit he deserves. Johnny on Twitter.
Plagiarism, foul play.
It's an outrage. It's an outrage.
Do you know what, Sean? When you said the takeaways from the game, judging by Ange last night, I think he's had too many takeaways. I think he's the one that needed to get in the bloody gym. Honestly.
Mate, I was thinking that. He's put on a little bit of weight, hasn't he? He's put on a little bit of weight since he's been doing
He might be talking the game. He ain't delivering it.
Listen, I sympathise, I empathise. I like a takeaway or two. And look, you know, it is what it is. As long as it doesn't affect his football, I'm okay with it. And man, his football is something to behold at times.
As long as he's not by the sideline eating a doner, that's all right. It just wouldn't be right, would it?
A Donna Cullen.
He's like, get me a doner. It's like munching on the doner while the game's going.
Daniel Levy sends down the blonde bird sat next to him. Go on, get down there, Ange wants you. Let's just quickly say hello to the members. Simon D, new member of the show. Big up, my man. Welcome. Thank you very much for the support. I think you're a returning member. Really appreciate your ongoing support. We got Mark Cookie in the house as always. Good to see you, Mark. Lovely to see you. John G's in the house as well. Simon D is here saying afternoon. Good luck doing a transfer show with no transfers. Yeah, I know. It's absolute dead, damp squib, dead rubber. Good to see you though. Donovan's here as well. Good to see you, mate. Who else we got? Roy Viken. We got Phil P. Great to see you guys. Brad Harris, Tom Martin. in a coma, Totspurs, Stratters, loads of you in here on a Thursday afternoon. Gilligan, Chrissy Wood, Wilson T, and I think that's caught up. Guys, and everyone who's not a member, I'm still saying hello to you as well. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you get your comments in. Participate in the show. Let us know what your thoughts are. And if one of these guys or both of them say something excellent, make sure you let them know. And if they say something stupid, make sure you let them know, but justify it. Be polite, be nice. And it's never going to happen. These two are too smart. I'm going to put this onto the list here. Let's start with the transfer window. In fact, let's start with this question from Mark Cook straight away. Do you guys think we have made the most of the window after having the advantage of having a few quid in the bank regarding FFP? Well, the FFP story, it's emerged. It hasn't necessarily baked in or filtered through yet. I personally think, Mark, it's something that's gonna have legs and it's gonna grow and like it's gonna sort of manifest in the future. But there was an opportunity, Johnny, wasn't there, this window to do a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, look. I don't want Carlos Kickerball. I don't want us to sign Carlos Kickerball because he's got a good name and he's from wherever, right? I'm not into that. This is a project. We need to sign players that are needed in the positions that are needed, the right players, the right mental attitude, and all the characteristics. Now, the thing is, it's not easy to find those players at this time of the year. Second of all, as I mentioned to you off before we came on before, there are many players, top players, who have got buyout clauses in their contracts. And those buyout clauses are nearly always stipulated as being in the summer. If the transfer is done between 1st of June till X of July, then the price will be X, right? Therefore, the club who's selling controls that window, and it gives them an opportunity to then go out and buy a replacement. What they don't want is players being touted out a week before this season starts or before the window closes. Therefore, they have some element of control. There are quite a few clubs out there right now. If you wanted to buy a player, to buy them out of that window, it's just not, doesn't make financial sense. Would you want to sell, if you were Bournemouth, I'm not saying I want Solanke, but would you let Solanke go? What business sense would that make to let him go now?
Only if they are on the cusp of FFP, and from my calculations, my very rudimentary math that I've just seen looked at the top and bottom numbers, they're not far away. And obviously they bought him from Liverpool for 20 million quid 4 years ago. So that will have been amortized at 5 million quid a year. Slightly more complicated than that because they've extended his contract, so it dilutes and delays a little bit. But ultimately, he's probably residual value is about 5 million quid on their books. So
I'm not worried though, because you've got Bill Foley's come in, right? Who's is down as a new owner. Therefore,
yeah, they get slightly more wiggle room than natural. Yeah,
£60 million more wiggle room.
Yeah.
Okay, as a new owner. So I don't think they're a problem. My point here is that, if you're looking to build a long term, you wouldn't sell him now. That makes no sense. Short term gain, long term loss, in my opinion. You wait till the summer. Again, he might well have a buyout clause. He negotiated a new contract on more money. There will be look, if you're an agent, you would say, okay, I'll sign that contract, but I'll only sign that contract if we sign for X. Otherwise, you're going to be like Zaha, for example, as an example, at Crystal Palace, where he was almost held to ransom. They wouldn't sell him. They were quoting telephone numbers. He had no buyout clause in his contract. Therefore, he had to wait till till he was really, way down in his career before he left. And he ends up in bloody Turkey, of all places, which was a bit of a surprise. So, if you're doing your job, you put in a clause, and that's why I think a lot of these top players, strikers, haven't left the building yet.
Yeah. Listen, I think I completely agree, mate. Well said. Dave, I want to straight away come in with your take. I'm going to expand the conversation because we're talking about FFP right now, and to lean into what sort of Johnny's saying. We'll stick to that point. Then we're going to expand out into the generally, are we happy? Could we have done more? But do you think that given Tottenham's FFP position, we could have done more? Or are you with Johnny in that it's not as simple as that? And there's certain times in certain windows that are going to be more sort of beneficial for teams like Tottenham who have that advantage to kind of play that card.
And getting the right player is the not just a player. That's how we've done it before. Sorry, Dave. Go on, carry on, mate.
No, look, I do hear the points that Johnny makes. And look, I think as fans, we have to have a certain degree of understanding in the January transfer window. It's a lot harder to operate than in the summer window, right? The January transfer window is a knock-on effect. The club you want to buy a player on won't sell him unless they have the guy lined up. And, that extends for 4 or 5 sort of clubs on the trot. It's almost like a domino effect, the January transfer window compared to the summer transfer window. So it is a very, very hard market to operate in. And usually in the January transfer window, what you want to do is sort of, paper over the cracks until at least the summer. However, coming into this window, with all the financial fair play stuff that has come out of it, I think we got off to a great start. But I'm just wonder, will we miss was this window the opportunity to flex our muscles? Because come the summer, and the reason why I say that is because come the summer, it gives clubs 4 or 5 months to sort of bring their best accountants in, the best sort of lawyers, and circumvent their way around the rules, around the financial fair play rules. We've seen PSG being able to do it for years, Man City being able to do it for years, and clubs like that. So I just wonder, have we missed the boat? And that's maybe my biggest fear this window. I would have liked to have seen us maybe test the waters for players that are on our shortlist that we do want to pursue in the summer. Why not test this window and see if you can get 1 or 2 of them in? But look, like I said, I understand that January window is a hard window to operate in. It's hard to get clubs to sell their assets, and the players that we'll be going after are probably already starting for their club, playing week in, week out. The ones that we want to come in here and make an impact. And in the January window, that comes out of tax as well. So, look, I don't really know what to make of this window. I think in terms of outgoings, I think it's been brilliant. Incomings, it's been okay. I just feel we might have missed our opportunity to flex our muscles with us being sort of having the money to throw around this window compared to other clubs. You look around Europe, it's been absolutely dead all month. Clubs are trying to pull a lot of loan deals. That tells me no one has money.
No one.
Why not go and see if you can go and get some players, and then you get your players in, and then who cares what happens in the market after that? I think most clubs are probably sitting there waiting for Tottenham today to kickstart the window, sign someone, so as a knock-on effect the right way through.
Yeah, look, I think you're spot on. Look, I think it's a double-edged sword, right? For me, like, even as much as the club Tottenham Hotspur are going to be more involved, more knowledgeable, more informed on the various situations than you or I or any of us in the chat will be. All they've got to go on outside of any kind of insights that agents might lean into one way or the other is essentially looking through the accounts and trying to figure out, how much of the short-term liabilities in the player trading things are for players that are on contracts. For players that are homegrown or otherwise. And so there's always going to be an element of doubt. And so Tottenham are going to be sitting there not knowing to the full extent of how many clubs are going to be on the periphery of hitting that line or not. In the summer, there's going to be to that question that I just brought up. Is there going to be more opportunities in June? I think there will be, because I think that every club has to get their accounts in check before June the 30th, and then obviously hand them into the Premier League later on that year.
I thought it was 30th. Isn't it the 30th of December?
No, yeah, they have to hand the accounts in for 30th of December, but the financial year for the football clubs ends June the 30th, right? So they then have 6 months.
To
then hand over
It's a rolling 3 years.
And it's a rolling 3-year contract. Yeah. So this particular year will be baked into next year's accounts and stuff. And so, where people finish in the Premier League is going to affect that number. If they go deep into the competitions, the prize money, all that stuff is paid out at the end of the season. So all those things are going to affect their numbers. And depending on where they're at and how close they are to the line, will present opportunities. But so you could make the argument that Tottenham should wait until June, because there should be some more opportunities that will come up in that month than there has been in January. But at the same time, there'll be more threats. Right? There'll be more clubs that have done better, outperformed, are no longer in the financial position that they thought they were going to be in negatively. And so they're then competing for the same signatures that you are. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to take a little bit of risk. It's calculated risk. I'm sure there's more conversations with accountants in the football club about the supposed situation, how precarious they are of other clubs than ever before. And I think it will be fascinating. But for me, I personally think that we could have and should have done a little bit more, tried a little bit harder this January to see if there was an opportunity. That said, guys, I don't want, and to Johnny's point at the very first thing he said, I don't ever want to see Tottenham again doing this short-term solutions for long-term problems where it's deadline day, you're getting a phone call from an agent saying, hey, any chance you might be interested in insert player here that you never thought about? Yeah, because some deal happened there, it kicked on an opportunity, the domino effect, like you say, Dave, suddenly there's an available player and Tottenham haven't even thought about it. And then they go, okay. And then suddenly they haven't, and then you're kind of knee-jerk reactioning to an opportunity. I don't want Tottenham doing that. We've done that in the past and it hasn't worked out. So, in terms of January, for me, I feel like it could have been better, but ultimately only if the opportunities presented themselves that were part of the shortlist, Dave, right?
Look, I don't know about you lads. I think when I look at the whole financial fair play sort of situation, it's all to do with Premier League clubs, right? I think summer is where you go and attack the homegrown market, because at the end of the day, they sell a homegrown player that's come through their academy and stuff. It sort of balances out with financial fair play, which is what my understanding is. I just feel like we probably missed an opportunity in the European market this January. I think this is the market we should have flexed our muscles across Europe and took what players we wanted. And then this summer should have been where we target that homegrown, because it is one of the weakest areas in the squad where you can maybe play on that financial fair play a little. I don't know whether you guys agree or not.
No, it is. Look, the thing is, I don't want us to go down, in France, every year PSG break the rules, right? The French Football Federation fines them 50-60 million pounds. They don't give a shit. They just pay it. That's not what we want. Imagine every year Man City and Newcastle break the rules. How much? 50 mil. There you go. 40 mil. There you go. That's not what we want. We need
to have rules.
We need to have rules. We need to have structure.
And they need to be enforced.
Correct. I have zero sympathy. If I see that when we go to the arbitration, the Everton deal gets thrown out and they end up with a 2-point deduction, right, I will be fuming, because it undermines everything, okay? All these people whinging and moaning, we never knew. They knew. They've admitted they broke the rules. Not only did they admit they broke the rules, they admitted they broke the rules this year as well. And the likelihood is they're going to break it next year or the year coming. They're going to need a miracle to break through it. So I've got no sympathy for them. Are we in a good position? We have debts. Don't forget, we have one of the largest debts that has to be serviced. And a lot of these deals, as you well know, Sean, these deals, if you're buying a player for 40 million, I think many fans think there's 40 million tucked away in the bank and they spend the money. No, they go out to finance houses or individuals to fund that money over the course of maybe 4, 5, 6 years at a rate to spread that payment out to the club in the hope that they maybe sell that player, get more back, pay off the loan, and that's how they function. I think, people think there's a pot of gold at the end of the bed. It doesn't work like that. And there's a lot of, as you would know, a lot of accountancy work and manipulation that's needed to balance these books. I'm amazed that Chelsea and Arsenal haven't breached it. Arsenal were warned a year ago by UEFA about their spending. And then
they're very close. I think they are very. I think that's why they haven't done a thing this summer and this January. And I think that's why, to me, when you see Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, just go and get Ivan Toney," it's been made as clear as possible via specific journalists that are clued up that Arsenal don't have that money, and that if they want to, this is the other consequence, right? And people are saying, because it's been such a terribly dry January. Not just in alcohol consumption, but in trading, that therefore FFP is ruining the sport. Let's go back to the days before it. That's a ridiculous argument. It's an absolutely ridiculous argument. But even if Arsenal wanted to sell the 3 players they have to sell, Emil Smith-Rowe and Nketiah, whoever, a Kiwi, or in order to finance an Ivan Toney, they have to find 3 clubs that have got money to be able to be willing buyers, right? So it's not as simple. Again, people like simplify the process and think, oh, we need money, just go and sell this player or offer this player in exchange. But those kind of player plus money deals are so rare for a reason, because you have additional third parties, you have additional agencies, additional lawyers, additional people with their hands and their noses in the trough trying to get a slice of the pie. That it isn't where it is, but it requires, for me, we have to go through a period of transition as an industry. The football industry has to go through a transition of deflation, where some clubs get burnt, some clubs who have broken the rules get punished, and everyone then sort of learns the lessons of what's going to happen. Now we're moving into a new era, and hopefully from there you will have a situation where players don't necessarily earn as much, where trading fees are nowhere near as high, and then from that you can kind of reduce the gap between the haves and the have-nots. You can maybe even make arguments around reducing ticket prices for the people that are annoyed about all those little incidental issues. Like there are a whole load of benefits that come from deflation in the football market. And
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. And, you know, I'm hearing stories of chairmen that when players are renegotiating their contracts or they're signing, they're saying categorically, well, we can't pay you that. We've got FFP. They're using FFP now as a reason why they can't play. Well, you know, we want you, but we can't pay that, because if we pay you that, that triggers this player, because we know there are players within clubs that if player A gets a rise, that triggers B, C, D, E, and F to get a wage rise. Therefore, it puts them the wage too high and they break the FFP. So they're already putting pressure, downward pressure on probably agents' fees, wages, and hopefully that will continue. Hopefully,
I completely agree. Go on, Dave.
Do you know what? I fully understand what you guys are saying in terms of what you're saying, but that's from other clubs' point of views. When I look at it from a Tottenham point of view, I think, you know, especially the English market this January, everyone's waiting for Tottenham. Everyone was waiting for Tottenham to do something. You look at all the players that Tottenham were linked with, homegrown over this market. We never once pulled the trigger because we don't want to allow other clubs to operate. We are like strangling the market right now. And me personally, I think it's a huge gamble, hoping that the Premier League will get tough with clubs so that we can then go and flex our muscles in the summer. But you can only really be able to flex them with Premier League clubs anyway. You look at the European market this January, hasn't moved much either. I think this is the opportunity. We should have went after the European market, took what we wanted to take, and then focus on the homegrown come the summer. Because right now, I think we are taking a gamble by we own this market. We could operate today if we wanted to. But when I look at it, the reason why we haven't got in a Conor Gallagher and Adam Morton who's gone to Palace and stuff like that is because we want to keep a stranglehold on the market so that the financial constraints get tighter and tighter and tighter on them for this financial fair play. And I just think it's an absolute huge gamble. I think we should have definitely flexed our muscles a bit more in the European market and then save the homegrown market, because we still could have done that. But I suppose the only other thing you have is if you do open up the European market, then they start coming into Premier League clubs, and then that opens that up. So I can understand that to a certain degree. But for me, the homegrown market was always going to be there with the financial fair play this summer. But we should have took more advantage of the European market. There are a lot of good players out there that
who would you have liked
brought in. Look, I think.
Yeah, go on.
I think I would have loved Kefran Turan from France. I know he's not on Spurs radar, but it would have been on mine. He absolutely bust us in that friendly at our place. You know, and there's a heap of sort of players across Europe in the forward line that you could have maybe went after, you know. For me, I just think we've probably missed an opportunity this window in the European market. That's just my observation of it. I understand why maybe we haven't acted in the homegrown market, because we do want to keep a stranglehold on it.
So
go on.
Oh, go on, Johnny. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, you know, look, I said this last year, right? And, you know, I'm going to repeat it again now. If you want to buy a player from Europe, a £15 million player is a £40 million player if you're in the Premier League, right? 50 million, 40 million, 60 million, right? When you come to get rid of your players to go out there, Not only can they not buy him, they can't buy the freaking loan fee. They can't pay all the wages, right? We're being played, right? We've been played. We are feeding Europe. We've been feeding Europe for years. It's got to stop. Okay. Some of the fees that are being quoted for players. Look, Nusa, I really like him. It was an exciting player. 35 million, 30 million.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money
for an 18-year-old. It's totally unproven, right?
And he sits on the bench. He sits on the bench for Bruges. He doesn't even start for Bruges all the time. It's a lot of money.
If you look at some of our top talent, I mean, look, Mikey Moore, Jamie Donnelly. If you said if Daniel Levy turned around and said they're 30, 35 million plus add-ons, if you want them, you'd look at them and you go, what are you talking about? How's he worth 30, 35 million? He's not. He's a great talent. He's got fantastic potential, but he's not the finished article. I just think that...
Do you think Europe looks at England the way that England looks at Saudi Arabia at the moment? And
thinks, of course, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. We're the feeding ground. We're the ones with the most money. And you know what? The one danger of FFP is we have all these restrictions. If the Super League comes about, there will be no restrictions on finances. There will be no restrictions on how much money you can throw at it. That's when the Premier League becomes in trouble because, you know, it will be victim of its own policing. And I think, listen, I think it's the right way to go. You know, how many years have we spoken about outrageous transfer fees, outrageous wages? You know, does someone really need 500 grand a week net, right, to live? They're getting sponsorships. They've got all the outside sponsorships. That's even more money. I just think that Europe has played us. Okay, I mean, I'd love to know what we're getting from Alejo for Liz. You know.
Do you know? I hear what people are saying. Europe has played us, but it's rebuilt our squad. Vicario, Bentancur, Kulusevski,
we negotiated
Romero.
Yeah.
I don't think we overpaid for any of those, did we? We didn't overpay for Vicario.
No.
We didn't overpay for Van der Ven.
Correct. But we have played Spurs of old before Fabio. We would not have got these deals done. That's what I'm saying. It's playing.
I think we overpaid for Porro.
No.
At the time, I thought yes. At the time, I thought it was very expensive. At the time, I never thought we'd pay too much for Romero at the time because I thought he was top draw. But I just. Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you do, but I think we've negotiated these prices well. But I think fans just expect, oh, we like this player. Why haven't we bought him yet? You know, why haven't we bought him yet? Because even if you say, yeah, we want to buy him, then it's like, how many months is it? How many years is it going to be paid over? Right? How much are you paying us up front? Those negotiations can break down before you even get to personal terms. So there's a lot that goes in a transfer. I just basically feel right now, like I said last year, it's even worse. There is literally, as Dave says, there's no money in Europe and we're restricted. There is money here, but it's restricted. You don't want Newcastle and Man City and Man United to go out and say, well, let's go and spunk 300 mil. I don't want 100%. I want a level playing field. You know,
I personally think that, you know, there's sort of byproduct collateral damage from the issues with the way that the money pyramid, the footballing money pyramid in Europe has. I've said this 1,000 times on the channel, right? Like Europe is broke, as you're saying, Johnny, and other leagues that don't distribute their money fairly or in equitable fashions to the same degree as the UK does. And consequently, unless you've got top tier players that you're trying to offload to top tier teams in Europe, then you're never really going to have that secondary market. And Tottenham haven't had top tier players to offload. So all the teams that would be a viable option, a viable outlet for some of our kind of dead wood, if you like, haven't really ever been a viable market. So you're almost a victim of other people's poor decision making in and around Europe. You're also a victim of your own success in some cases with regards us being taken for a ride by these other teams.
Yeah.
But today's point, it is what it is. If you do want to supplement your squad, right? I'd much rather go and help out Empoli with 20 million than Chelsea or Newcastle. right? Because
Correct.
obviously it's going to be unlikely that it's going to come back and bite you. For example, Chelsea. We spent all January talking about whether or not to get this guy. People that watch my channel know that I've flip-flopped from go and get him to don't want him. Chelsea, a team without a number 9, are desperately trying to offload Brozier tonight, right? Because that must demonstrate, if anything demonstrates, they haven't got a 9 and they are desperately trying to offload the only one that they've got, because either he's not good enough or B, they are this close, if not massively over the line with regards to FFP, and Chelsea have only got one more year with Todd Bowley before the Piper comes calling, and so they're doing all they can for that homegrown number, right?
They want a $5 million loan fee. I mean, what is a $5 million loan fee over 16 games? I mean, how much is that a game? It's like madness. It's a lot. It's a lot of money. I got Nkuku.
Yeah, but I'm not even sure if he's a 9, is he?
I think he can lead the line.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, he scored a great goal last night, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he's a top player, personally.
Yeah, same. Yeah, same.
Proper player. I think they could do without him if he can stay fit.
Guys, just to move the conversation along, because I know I've only got you for an hour, not even an hour more, maybe 45 minutes. And I do want to talk about last night's game. But to round off this window stuff, the last bits and pieces of whatever Tottenham might have tonight. We've got Veliz maybe going, or he's in Sevilla. We've got Brian Hill maybe going to Brighton. And I don't know if there's any real truth in that story about the Swedish wonder kid coming in. But Dave, do you expect to see anything within those 3 and any other stories in the last couple of hours?
Not really. I think Veliz to Sevilla is more or less done. Stop fucking ringing me. I think Veliz to Sevilla is almost done. Brian Hill could be one that could leave. The fact he didn't get a game off the bench yesterday, the fact he didn't get a game off the bench against Man City probably tells me that the club are trying to work something there and they don't want to run the risk of him maybe having an injury or something like that. So I think you might. Alfie Dorrington injured today, came out. He's out with a hamstring, so you won't see him move anywhere now either. Perhaps Sunsut Bell, I know they were looking at maybe potentially looking to loan him out as well. I think you might see some outgoings. I don't think you'll see any incomings. I think if you did, you probably would have heard rumours about it by now. So I'd say we're done in terms of that department. So yeah, I think our window's pretty much over. We usually get a deadline day renewal. We haven't got that yet. So, have a look at the players' contracts around 2025 and big one.
No, I've just said 312,000 a game for Brozier. Mad money.
Plus his salary.
Calvin Phillips, they wanted 7 million. I'm not
sure. Plus his salary, Johnny. That's just the fee. Forget you got to pay his salary as well, right? They're desperate. They're desperate. You know why? Because this time last year, they paid something like £1.5 million a game to loan in João Felix for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And what did he do? The square root of FA. Yeah. The square root of FA. That guy is an absolute waster. So I can't wait for the Piper to come and play his tune on Chelsea, whether it's this summer or next year. It's going to be a beautiful thing to see. And look, a lot of people were very jealous of Todd Bowley when he came in and started splashing the cash, saying, "Why can't Tottenham do it?" That's the way a club should be run. And I'm so glad we don't have. Listen, you can want someone better or different to Daniel Levy, but Todd Bowley is not the answer.
Can you imagine? In my opinion. I mean, the one thing that made me laugh about Todd Bowley was when he was in a press conference and he said, what are you going to do? He said, well, when we qualify, next season for the champion, when we play in the Champions League next season, they go, well, you're not going to qualify. He goes, no, we're there every year. No, you have to qualify.
He didn't know.
He did not know that you have to qualify for the Champions League. So here's a guy who's invested fortunes into a club and didn't know.
Yeah, absolute bozo for me. And look, there's like I say, there's probably different chairmen, better chairmen, more knowledgeable chairmen that you could have, people that are less involved, less
chairman,
whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the guy from Brighton. Just quickly, Johnny, on that one, talking about Brighton, Brian Hill going to Brighton. Do you see it happening tonight?
I think it would really annoy me.
Yeah.
Because I just think players need to be given a chance.
He hasn't been given a chance like
Johnson's been given a chance. This one's been given a chance. He's not been given a chance. I don't feel, he had a great game against Palace under Conte, got shipped out. pre-season he caught an unfortunate injury, had his moustache removed, and like he didn't play for, well, he missed the whole pre-season. And then how are you going to get into a team which has won 10 games on the trot? It's just not going to happen. And then when he does get into the team, who's he getting in his team with? Half the team missing, right? No midfield, no creativity. And suddenly he's meant to come in with 15 minutes to go and turn the whole game round. I think under De Zerbi, he could actually really suit the system. I hope it's only a loan.
But is he just going? Would he just go there just to fill what's his name spot until Matoma's spot until Matoma's fit, and then as soon as Matoma's back, he sits on their bench rather than out?
Potentially, yeah. Who will be home first, Mitoma or Son? We're playing Brighton, aren't we?
That's true. That is true. Very true.
I got to tell you, I got a lot of abuse because I jokingly said that. For one night only, I'll be supporting Saudi Arabia and the Ivory Coast. Well, half of Senegal and Korea descended on my page, and I really thought.
Got to be careful, mate. Got to be careful what you say.
Got to be careful. The banter does not exist in Korea, I really thought there was 20 seconds to go. And I'm ready to hit that tweet and celebrate. I couldn't believe it. 20 seconds there were Saudi Arabia knocking Korea out and us celebrating in the nicest possible way. Korean fans, if you're watching, we love Sonny, but we desperately need him back.
Yeah, we love him so much we want him back sooner. That's what,
correct.
100%. All right, guys, let's move on because I want to talk about the game just quickly before I do. Desmond is saying in the next couple of months, if we sell our naming rights, would that increase our spending? Well, it would certainly massively increase our cash flow. And the speculation is between 25 and 40 million pound a year over a long period, depending on the valuation metrics, and they change all the time, Desmond. But what I would say about this naming rights deal, even if let's use 30 million pound as an income from it.
Yeah.
What's that?
We spoke about this, I think.
Yeah, so for me, like the 30 million pound that you get per year, okay, it might buy you a right foot of a decent winger or whatever, but ultimately there's unknowns in the damage to not the damage, but the dilution of the brand. Like Tottenham is the fastest growing supported team of any sport in America right now.
Correct.
The reason for that is in no small part because of the exposure that the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium gets from the NFL. How you quantify the value of each additional American supporter that comes to Tottenham every year because of them discovering Tottenham Hotspur whilst they dial in to watch the Jaguars play the Colts or whatever it is. I don't know how you ever quantify that. It's a sort of drip feeding that value over the next 25 years. And hopefully you then get the generational fan. That wouldn't happen if it suddenly becomes the Deloitte Stadium or the Google Arena or whatever else, right? Those fans are no longer there. So there's value, there's cash value that you can obviously quantify to giving over the branding to someone else, but they want it for a reason. It's valuable to them for a reason. And so not having it, keeping it called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has its own value, its own branding benefits, although how you quantify that in terms of what that brings in through match day receipts, through merchandise sales, it's very, very difficult to understand. And obviously you have people like Todd Klein who are masters of commercialization who are figuring that stuff out and trying to look through the data and they've obviously landed on the idea that to Tottenham, it's better to be called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium than it is to receive 20 million or 25 million quid right now.
Yeah, I mean, it came by complete default. I mean, I've spoken about this many times and, it came by default. But, sometimes things happen. Had COVID not come along, they probably would have done a naming right deal after they'd had a few events in there because that was the plan. Have a boxing a match, have an NFL and sell it as a multi-purpose international sports arena. Right now, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is in for the NFL, for the boxing. It's and the growth,
the exposure to new fans
and
is
the
insane.
brand is insane. And people are coming to the club. Club aren't having to go knocking, right? I mean, if you go on TikTok right now, right? Tottenham on TikTok, I think is the biggest club in the Premier League. I think we have 33 million followers on TikTok. Go and look who the next one down is. I don't know if they've caught up with us, but we are smashing it. We really are a brand that is growing big time. And with the F1 coming to the stadium as well, that's only going to make us, it really is going to be a destination stadium that's going to be earning the club money. I know people mock it, the Skywalk, this, that, and the other, but listen, let's be honest. If it's creating this much money that will actually give us money to spend on players in the future, then I'm all for it. Give us a like, guys. Come on, you're in the room. 700.
Yeah, we should be on 450, 500. We're trying to raise the ratio. 60% is what we should be looking for minimum. What we're assuming from this is that you guys aren't enjoying the content, and that's sad to hear because this is my favorite show of the week. So,
I just wanted to say quickly on the naming rights. Personally, I don't want Tottenham to sell the naming rights. You see other clubs do it, but they have to. They don't have the diverse revenue streams coming in that we do, so they have to sell their stadium naming rights and stuff like that. We don't have to. We've got so many other revenue streams that other clubs do not have. So for me, I'd rather kept it being called as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium rather than, the Amex Express or something like that. I'd rather be kept as the Tottenham Stadium. We don't need to sell it. Overall, in terms of what it's going to do to affect our transfer budget and all, it's really pittance, to be brutally honest with you. So for me, I'd rather not sell it. I'd rather have our own name on the stadium.
I don't want the Tampax Bowl.
No.
Honestly, it's got a bloody terrible ring to it. There's loads of names on there. It looks like a toilet seat. I mean, we've had the Domestos Dome.
Toilet bowl arena,
Yeah, the Domestos Bowl. I think as great as it is, and I think Moondog, it happens, mate. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But appreciate your acknowledgement. I stood by it. Appreciate it.
Moondog, we're going to move away from the finance and the transfer stuff and talk about the game last night, because there's so much to break down. But I want to say massive thank you to E-Mate for the super chat. He's saying, Johnny, he has to say Richie's doing a great job after his bashing. Look, I've been Richie's biggest critic. I am increasingly trying to dig myself out of the mud, but his performances are getting me deeper and deeper. I've got to hand it to him. I thought last night was his best performance in the Tottenham shirt, if I'm entirely honest. I thought he was doing things that, only comes from a guy who's full of confidence. He was smashing balls, turning and whipping shots on the half turn like Harry Kane. He was coming deep and connecting the dots, bringing players into the game. He was my man of the match alongside Timo Werner. Take your pick. I thought both of them were spectacular. But I do want to get your take on it, on those players. But the game itself was the stereotypical game of two halves. At halftime, I couldn't have been more frustrated. And at full time, I couldn't have been more relieved. And SOF is saying, I've got to be more specific about what was so great about the football last night. Other than 15 minutes or so, Spurs were very poor. When I said I absolutely love it, what I mean is I love the game itself. Like the football, not necessarily the way we played for 90 minutes SOF, but I mean just Ange ball, the end-to-end, the fact that we could be 4-0 up and still going hectic for a fifth goal when you don't need to, or we could be 3-0 down and still doing the same thing. You could watch Tottenham at any point in the game with the scoreline blurred out and have absolutely no idea whether we are 2-0 up, 2-0 down, or what the score or what the clock is saying on the, what the time is saying on the clock. And to me, that's why I want to watch football, to be entertained. And Tottenham last night was so entertaining, even if it wasn't fantastic in terms of what we're looking for. And I want to get the boys' take on your general thoughts before we zone in on some specifics. So I'll start with you, Dave, on this one, mate. General thoughts on last night.
Yeah, look, first of all, I'm absolutely delighted to get over the line and get the win. But a bit like you, Sean, I was left very, very frustrated and annoyed at half time, For me, we started off the exact way we want to start off, right? Getting at teams nice and early, pinning them back. And Maddison was playing penetrating passes. But after about 6 to 10 minutes, that completely stopped. And I was calling us very naive, because what we started doing then is 5-yard balls around the place, trying to look pretty in front of people rather than actually penetrating Brentford like we were doing. We were knocking on the door. At times, you got to keep going, keep battering down that door, and your luck will come. And then what happens? We get caught around looking pretty, trying to play these little 5-yard balls without actually affecting the game in any sort of way. It's just keeping possession. We get picked they go up and score. How many times have we seen that this season? You know, West Ham done it to us, ended up going to win the game. Wolves done it to us and stuff like that. For me, we have to learn lessons. But also, what left me ultimately very, very annoyed at half-time, Brentford set up to block the middle of the pitch. They don't want you to play through there. What did we keep on trying to do? Play through the middle of the pitch. And why? Where did we get our joy the first 6 to 10 minutes? Out wide, getting the balls down the side. Why did we stop? And it was ultimately very, very frustrating. They kept on just playing into a brick wall all first half. And
because we were going through at Maddison, right? Because Maddison's re-arrival into the team kind of, it made me feel like Tottenham were going back to like Harry Kane days where everything was going through one particular player and Maddison was playing central. And so it felt like we were forcing the issue central when like you say, the juice was out wide.
But what annoys me is you've got Maddison, you've got Bentancur. They can see Kulu with all the space out on the right-hand side. They can see Timo Werner with his arm up screaming for it. In fact, I've seen one stage Timo Werner put his arm down and almost turn around, nearly ready to cry because the amount of times he's calling for it and not getting it. It's really, really frustrating. They just wanted to keep it between themselves. What annoyed me about Maddison is he doesn't need 6 touches to run it over beside Bentancur or beside Porro to lay it off. One touch, he can put it anywhere on the pitch he wants to. Do it. Bentancur is the exact same. He can do it. So why did they condense the game down? And they ultimately led to us going in at half-time, losing the game. We know that the counter-attack threat is there. So, you know, why aren't we protecting the ball a bit more? Second half, a lot better. Postecoglou deserves a lot of credit. Before Antonio Conte, other managers would have went in there and absolutely rollicked them. But they wouldn't have necessarily made the changes to follow up that rollicking. So then ultimately players don't take that warning. They just carry on to do what they want to do. Postecoglou followed it up. And I think taking Bentancur off was a statement to every single player out there. You're not too good to be taken off. And it sent out a statement. Højbjerg came in. He started progressing the ball. One touch, bang, into the forward area. Sort of changed the game for us. And we started exploiting Brentford when they were high up the pitch. At times when Brentford were high up the pitch, we get the ball into the forward line and it's being slowed down and we allow every single one of them to get back behind the ball. You go back to the game we played at the start of the season, the biggest frustration was we kept on playing in front of them. We weren't penetrating. We weren't getting down the sides and trying different teams. And we fell into the exact same trap there in the first half against Brentford. But ultimately, thank you, Neil Maupay, because he inspired the half-time and he inspired the victory. So thank you.
Well, I definitely want to talk about. So, Johnny, I'm going to come to you for your general take, but please save the Maupay irritation thing because that's
no. I'm not going to say that. But look,
yep.
For me, there's inverted, and then there's compressed. Right, our whole team was inverted. It was like a compact, vacuum-packed unit where everyone was inside that tight space in the middle, and Brentford were happy. Right, so condensed was it that all you needed to do if you were Brentford was do the usual, exploit the right-hand side, the gap between Kulu or Johnson, whoever's playing out on that flank. And they did it again and again, right? 3 saves from Vicario, okay, and 2 goals that were scored. 1 was ruled out. It could have been far worse. A better team with better striker than Maupay would have killed us in those opening minutes. I was going mad. What is going on? They were trying to walk through the middle. Width. I'm shouting wide. The guy behind me is going, mate, shut up. Stop shouting width. You're not the manager, right? I said, I know I'm not the manager, but look what you're watching. You don't know jack shit, right? I said, okay. He's going to have to take Lolo off, right? He's going to have to change the midfield. It's shocking. It was so constricted. You know, like Dave, I'm shouting, wide, pull wide. If you watch Destiny Udogie, right, at Udinese, he played out wide, hugging that touchline. He'd pick up the ball, he'd drive with that ball with his pace and power, and he'd cut inside and unleash a shot. You can't do that when you're inverted and you're running into traffic. So I was fuming in that first half, right? The only bright spot...
Do you think, just quickly on that, do you think that we... Sorry, finish your point because I'll ask you that question separately.
For me was that Richie was closing down. Richie was showing the aggression, and that that shot where he hit the ball. Listen, I've got to make something clear, right? I'm not a Skip fan, okay, but he got a couple of blocks in. okay? And he set Kulu away on the right-hand side with a lovely ball over the top, which I think Kulu should have done better with. But
I thought Skip was one of our best players in the first half.
Yeah, but not for me, because I figured after 20 minutes, he stopped progressing the ball. He was not progressing the ball. He was holding the ball, passing the ball sideways, passing the ball back. We needed someone to progress the ball. And I felt that was what was missing. Lo and behold, we come out. We got Adoji's playing wide on the left. Brennan Johnson's coming wide on the right. He picks up the ball, Adoji, in space, drives into that space. He pulls the ball out for what you call it, and he scores the goal. He scores the goal. He got onto the follow up as well. But suddenly we're playing with pace. But for me, we played 10 minutes of the first half, right at the beginning. We played 7 minutes of fantastic football at the beginning of the second half, and then we did the usual. We reverted back to slowly playing the ball about, trying to take
mistakes and lots of mistakes, lots of sloppy.
This is what I'm saying. Where Tottenham don't learn, they don't kill teams off when they have the capability to do it, and it's so frustrating.
But why are we finishing tired, Sean? This is my biggest issue.
Well, because it's an exhausting system, mate. Right? It's a tiring system. Destiny Udogie probably. I mean, Timo Werner in his post-match thing said he ran 7, 15, 60-meter sprints in 8 minutes. Destiny Udogie was bouncing up and down that line as best he could as well. I think there's more activity on the left-hand side of the pitch than there is on the right-hand side of the pitch. I don't think we necessarily balance out our creativity enough as much as we should. To Dave's point earlier, when we're going through the middle, to your point, Johnny, was too compressed, vacuum sealed. But we need to, not only do we need to spread it faster and more often, but we need to balance it out more. You don't see Pedro, I know they're different players, but you don't really see Pedro Porro progressing the ball anywhere near as frequently as you see Destiny Udogie doing it. You don't really see Decky or Brennan Johnson trying to do what Timo Werner does either. So I feel like there's an imbalance a little bit in the way that we play with the ball, and ultimately that sometimes leads to exhaustion on one side of the pitch, which then leads to sloppy mistakes and a poor giveaway, which then leads to being transitioned on. And this frequency of giving up sloppy opportunities that don't happen.
Look, we got the least amount of games since 2005. We've got 40 games, the least games of any club in the Premier League division.
No, I think what's the word? Cumulative. It's a hard word to say. Fatigue. Cumulative fatigue over the season, we're not going to suffer from. But in-game fatigue, like stamina in the game because of the way we play during the 90 minutes, I think is a thing. It's like, if you're a sprinter who's shattered after running 100 meters, right? 10 seconds, he's absolutely shattered, but he could do it 10 times, but he's not going to feel.
Are you saying then that we are going to become Bielsa? Where the players they play like this, and then come the end of the season, we fall off a cliff.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think that Tottenham look fatigued at the end of the game, but when you're playing one game a week, I think that we're fresh again at the start of the next week's game. But then by the end of that game, we're shattered because of the high intensity of the game itself.
Burnley,
my point.
Burnley in the cup, finished knackered. In fact, Pierre Højbjerg, a block in the 97th minute. Stops it. Bournemouth, the same. There's been so many instances of us dying a death. Man City, we looked absolutely out on our feet. Yeah,
but it's what we're doing in game. We're nowhere near full throttle under Ange Postecoglou yet. With Ange Postecoglou at Celtic, he had a good bench that he could rely on compared to the rest of the Scottish League, where the substitutions he made came in to be able to affect the game. Right, and most times he killed teams off before he even had to get to the point of making substitutions. What we're doing in the game is killing us towards the end of the game. The way we play, because it's so helter-skelter, especially getting forward, but because we get countered frequently, which we need to stop. We're constantly sprinting back, sprinting forward. It's going to exhaust any athlete come towards the end of the game.
100%. It's 100 miles an hour all the time, isn't it?
Exactly. But what we need to do better in-game is be more ruthless, pull down them counters. Why are we letting teams run at us, take 3-4 players out of the game rather than pull them down like they do to us? Why aren't, stop the counter, give yourself a chance to get back? Why aren't we killing teams off? Why do we keep going into senses of a lull period in games, and especially in the first half where we just start rotating it left to right and everyone wants to look pretty. We don't have that killer instinct sometimes during games, and it's actually what we do during games actually comes to affect the outcome towards the end of the games. And that's why I think Postecoglou gets frustrated at times, because he knows the bench that he's got, it weakens the team. Bar last night, the majority of the bench we've had this season, when we've made changes, it's weakened the team. So, and he's leaving it later and later to make subs at Tottenham than what he did at Celtic, because he knows that. So we have to be better in-game with what we're doing, be more ruthless with it. The system puts us in the attacking third. The system gives us about 60% possession nearly every single game when it's played right. But what Postecoglou can't do is make them players have that killer instinct, make them want more, make them be more relentless. Sometimes I just feel like our squad is naive. They get lulled into a sense of naivety that, oh, this game is simple. And then before you know it, we're caught and the game's back in the balance. When we have them periods, we have to kill teams. And that's ultimately where Postecoglou wants to get to. And then beef up the squad, have a good bench, and you won't see that effect come towards the end games. Because you're right, Sean. You go back to games this season, Wolves we lost last minute. Bournemouth scored in the last 10 minutes. Everton scored in the last 10 minutes. We can see
FA Cup third round. We could have lost we could have given it away in the last 30 seconds. Last night they had a chance last 30. We're not killing the game off. But I don't know if this is a moot point, Dave. I'll stay with you and I'll let Johnny come in. I don't know if this is a moot point because nothing's ever going to change anyway. But when you're 3-1 up, the point I made at the start of this topic when I was saying you could blur out the scoreline and the timer and watch Tottenham and have no idea whether it's the first minute, the 90th minute, or whether you're 2-0 down or 2-0 up. When you're 3-1 up and you've just absolutely ramrolled them you've just gone from 1-0 down to 3-1 up in 7 minutes. At that point, do you need to keep your foot on the throttle and go for a fourth? Or do you kind of go, let's just calm down for a second and play Man City ball, just spread the ball around, pass it around a little bit? Because I feel like if the argument is, yes, you go for a fourth, then you're going to also leave yourself open to concede the second.
No, look, I get what you're saying, but you take that on a game-by-game basis. There are times where, you can slow it down for 2 minutes, regain a bit of composure, but then go again. We slow it down for 20, 25, 30 minutes. It's way too long. So for me, it's, okay, you can do that. But then someone has to pick up the spark again and go, right, go again. You look at the games we've had against Brentford, 2-2 earlier on in the season, 3-1 the game before that. Look at the last 5 games. We don't have a good record against Brentford, and traditionally we can see 2. So they knew that second was coming, which puts the game in the balance. So you have to go and kill them off. You have to go and get that fourth. Shatter their belief altogether.
Brochure to Fulham. Agreed, apparently.
Wow.
Loan or buy?
Loan, yeah.
Well, that's all nothing.
Why would Fulham help Chelsea out? I know they're helping themselves out, but that's also, it irritates me a little bit.
What does that say about Jimenez?
What are we doing here?
What does it say about Jimenez?
Right. Yeah. Which Jimenez? The J Jimenez. The Jimenez at Fulham. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good boy. I mean, not a lot, but
yeah.
Oh yeah. Look, I mean, I think that's an interesting move for Fulham. I'm not really sure what are Fulham trying to compete for this year. They're mid-table.
He's looking at progression. I think I really like Tosin Adebayo. I mean, I told everyone to watch him. Of course, he had his worst ever game. I think it was in the first leg of the cup semi-final against Liverpool. One of the worst games he had, and then since then he's been outstanding for them.
Tosin's a great player.
Yeah. I really do think that if you could pick him up in the summer on a freebie, he's out of contract now. Well, he will be taking a big risk.
He'll probably go to where he wanted to go to before. I don't know if Monaco ended up replacing.
But it's a huge risk. He's not signed a pre-contract. You get injured in the summer, good luck.
Yeah. Guys, let's move the conversation towards the topic that I really wanted to get to. Right. So, Dave, you touched on it. Neil Maupay winding the team up. We were frustrated with him. Maddison obviously took it personally in doing the celebration. Me personally, when I saw it, I wasn't doing a watch long, but I saw the replay. I was like, Maddison, what are you doing, mate? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Don't get wound up by it. Just get on with it. It's irrelevant. But he did it, and then everyone else, there was a lot of this niggling. Mope was winding everybody up. He's got a reputation for doing it. To me, I felt like Brentford's tactics to frustrate the life out of Tottenham in a bunch of different ways. At halftime, I was like, fair play to Thomas Frank. He has leveled the playing field through 2 or 3 little nuanced tweaks to things that don't actually involve kicking a football. But and Tottenham have fallen for it naively. Our young team has fallen for it. After the game, Ange said, yeah, like not up for all that. Like we lost our heads. We weren't disciplined. During the game, though, when we did get the goal back, you could see the camaraderie amongst our team throughout the game in various moments. You could see that like when we were all fighting back and getting back at these players in various ways when we could. In the 94th minute, Romero and Pedro Porro celebrating with like an NFL chest bump when they got the ball out for a goal kick. There was so much camaraderie to witness. It was wonderful to see. But at the same time, I feel like it manifested itself in really disappointing ways. And I want to know which side of the fence you're on. Is it good or is it bad that Tottenham are getting sucked into and also overcoming childish behaviour? In those moments. Johnny, I'll start with you on this one, mate.
I've got to be honest with you. When Malpai came over and he did that, when a load of other people jumped out of that seat, and I won't repeat what I said to him, he's a wind-up merchant, isn't he? But there was lots of things. There were so many little niggles off the ball, knocking the balls out of their hand, kicking the balls away. I thought the referee was absolutely atrocious, right? Absolutely atrocious. I'm actually of the Conte camp, if you want my opinion. I'm not a Conte fan or a Mourinho fan. You need to know the dark arts, right? Arsenal perform the dark arts. They're constantly, Arteta's always in the fourth officials. The players are always in the ear of the referee. They're always going down like they've been poleaxed by a truck, right? Every time they get challenged. What he wants from us is to just get on with it, right? I felt we were arguing a lot in that first half with the referee because they wound us up and we fell for it. We didn't pay them back in football kind. We let them go. And that's what cost us against Chelsea. Bad refereeing in that first 20 minutes where we 1-0 up. Sonny just missed that penalty. The goal which is disallowed. The referee's been terrible. They've gone through Maddison twice, left him on the ground. They've gone through Son twice. Son's jumping up, going mad. They dump Romero out on that touchline, and he does the David Beckham kickback on the touchline that he got away with. And by the time he got down the other end of the pitch, you got Mickey van der Ven kicking out, and he missed his player, and then Romero gets sent off, and then the whole thing implodes. You have to keep your discipline, but I like shithousery. I think Richie was fantastic in shithousery last night. He was noising up Mope.
Johnny, please stop swearing. I'm sorry about trying to keep the ads on.
You're not allowed to say that word, housery.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, listen. I mean,
it's actually a word. It's actually a word in the English dictionary.
No, I know, but the YouTube gods don't care. They as soon as they hear a swear word, they go,
okay, housery.
Ads off.
Okay, housery. Sorry,
that's all right. No worries. But listen, is it a case of, look, the vice captain Maddison is a vice captain, right?
Was he last night?
He was the core culprit of getting wound up. Romero at times last night, captain, right, in place of Sonny, getting wound up more than others. Like I don't know if is it part of the fact we got a young squad? Is it part of the fact that they're all mates, but it's all a bit kind of playgroundish behavior? I love the fact that we came out the victors, and I love the fact that they were what Vicario said to Ivan Toney after the game. You hope you didn't bet on it or whatever. I love the fact that there was all of that stuff after the fact, but during the game, I think it affected us negatively.
We should have checked out. That was my highlight of the evening when the fans.
Yeah, you should have cashed out. Yeah,
should have checked, cashed out. When we were 3-1 up. Yeah, loved it.
Do you know what? On the conversation for me, look, I'm with Johnny. I absolutely love the housery. However, I think it was evident there against Man City as well. We went 1-0 down. We lost our heads. Still 4 minutes of injury time to go and try and create attack. We spent the last 3-4 minutes in the corner pushing Doku around and De Bruyne around, But this is something that more teams are going to do to us. They're going to try and get in our players' ears because they know that they're going to react. So they have to go into games with an element of knowing that this is going to happen. Now, for me, I break it down into two things. First of all, I think the referees have been absolutely shocking and have a vengeance against Tottenham since that Liverpool game. We do not get the rub of the green on any decisions. Norgard should have been off after 50 minutes last night, stayed on the pitch to complete the full 90. Absolutely shocking. And I feel this is where the club could do more to help the players on the pitch. I know a lot of people don't like what Arteta done and what Arsenal done, but what it does do, it makes referees think twice when they go to blow the whistle now in future. With us, we allow these decisions to happen. You go back to Fulham. Paulinho pulled our player down left, right, and centre. Doji was the first player to get booked on the pitch, even though he committed 4 or 5 fouls before that. Crystal Palace didn't get a book until 90-plus minutes. Forest, the amount of tackles they made, didn't get a book until 80-odd minutes. It's absolutely shocking, and the club need to come out and help the players in that regard, because what's happening is they're not getting the rub of the green on the pitch. Then you look at Brentford. They're slowing the games down, even though the referees are told to keep the game going so that most of what we see is ball in play. They're allowing them to do it. The players are getting frustrated, and then what happens is they're taking it into their own hands and they're getting involved into silly squabbles, and it's completely taking them off their game. They're getting into throwing them around. What needs to happen is someone internally gather everybody together. As a club, we're going to come out and we're going to start putting pressure on them referees. Sir Alex Ferguson used to do it all the time for Man United, and look at the benefit of the doubt he used to get from the referees.
But
and then
Ange
you say
doesn't
to the
want
players,
it. Why does Ange not want it? I really don't get it. Unless we go down the Arsenal route of do all of the complaining on the pitch, off the pitch, and then write a letter to the FA saying we've been treated very badly.
Look, I don't care what it looks like. At the end of the day, it's anything to give our club an edge on the pitch,
100%.
And then what you say to the players is, we're going to take a handle of it off the pitch. On the pitch, keep your heads. But there are ways you can get retribution. Wait till there's a 50-50 ball and go in and clatter them. Don't be just throwing them around to the ground, giving away free kicks and causing disruptions in the game. Because the game we play, we want the ball to be kept in play with as minimal stoppages as possible, so that we can keep the team under constant pressure. But when we get involved in these silly fouls, we just completely get away from our game. That's what happened against Brentford. It's only that Postecoglou walked in and fucking obviously. Sorry. Obviously,
I'm already on limited ads now. It's fine. So yeah. It is what it is.
Obviously, rollicked them, at half time.
He scored first, David, the first time when his phone went off.
And they're obviously able to regain their composure, come out and get going, because it's been put in their mind. But they need to have that cleverness on the pitch. One of them captains needs to step up and see what's going on here and saying, hang on, we're being entangled into their game. Let's refocus. Let's get refocused on our game. So there's a number of things, in and around the club that can be done to help this situation.
Well,
I don't think this is all entirely on the players.
You know what's a prime example of that? I was screaming at it 2 minutes in. Ivan Toney, second challenge on Porro, right? Porro's lying on the ground. He's really hurt himself. The referee's now having a word with him. Thing's going to give him a card. What does Porro do? He jumps up, goes over, puts his arm around him. He goes, "No, it's all right," and shakes Ivan Toney's hand.
Yeah.
No, you stay down and you go up to the referee and saying, "Look at my ankle."
I was surprised by that, actually.
You saw that,
surprised by that, because I would have thought Pedro Porro, coming from the continent, I thought he would have been an absolute master of. And I think he has got that Housley side to him. I would have thought the kind of character I love Pedro Porro. He's my favourite player at Tottenham. He obviously took a picture with me. That's why me and him are mates. But I do think that I would expected a little bit more gamesmanship. I thought he would have been part of the group of people that would have loved the wind up, but he's not.
Look it up. 2 minutes in, 2 or 3 minutes in. I don't want you going up. If that was Arsenal, he'd be lying on the ground. He'd be showing him his shin, as going, "Look at that." He'd be angry, and then what happens? 2 seconds later, he has another challenge. He had 3 in a row, and let's just let him off with it.
So last question on this. Just a quick answer, just to summarise this kind of camaraderie versus immaturity thing. The Housery thing, like how are we supposed to handle it? I guess it's different if we are invoking it, but when it's when we're on the receiving end of it and we get sucked in, does there need to be someone on the pitch, one of the vice captains, who turns around and goes like,
yeah,
come on guys, we're getting sucked in here, like let's not get wound up. Like I say, I get all of the fun side of it, but ultimately we went down 1-0 down and we were too focused on getting angry, getting even with the energy than rather than getting even on the pitch and going ahead. And I wonder, who do you turn to on the pitch if the two vice captains that are of the club and the captain's not here? If they're two of the biggest instigators of the problem, then who do you turn to turn around and go, guys, wake up? We're not focused here. We've got to focus on you can't wait until half time, because if that stuff happens in the second half, then Ange doesn't have a second chance to remind people of the bigger picture.
You can't phone a friend, can you?
No.
That's the thing, we've got great leaders that sort of leading by example, but we don't have anyone that sort of has that head, that coolness within the moment in the game to be able to turn around. And I do think that's something we've lacked at Tottenham for a number of years now. Someone that'll turn around on the pitch and hold people to accountable. Very often we end up waiting till half time to see what the manager has to say. You have to have that player on the pitch. Liverpool used to have Gerrard to do it. United used to have Keane to do it. Man City have a number of players to this day that do it. We need to have a player on the pitch that can do that. I'm not questioning people's leaderships and stuff like that. There's different ways to lead things, right?
Right.
But what we don't have is that person on the pitch that can say, look, Porro, stop being silly, and start playing your normal game. Adoji, start protecting the ball. Stop losing the ball. We're being picked off every time you lose it. Bentancur, get your act together. Start playing. There's a better player in there. Show us what you're made of. I don't see anyone going around the pitch talking, and communication on the pitch is a huge issue for me. The only one I see do anything in terms of opening his mouth is Vicario.
Right. Vicario, I think, is the guy. I know he obviously had a crack after the game, bit of fun, but he is the guy who did it. He held Sessegnon to account. I think he does hold the defenders to account, but that's a problem. He can't
the pitch.
Need someone at the pitch. For me, the obvious mature head, the wise head on certain shoulders is probably Højbjerg, but I think you need it from someone who's going to be regularly playing. Anyway, we can put a pin in that conversation for another time, guys. We've got one more topic I want to ask you about before we round off, if that's okay, and that is chemistry. I mentioned earlier on in the show, my take is that with Tottenham, sometimes with the ball, we're a little bit imbalanced. We've got a lot of pace and a lot of willingness to get on the ball down the left. On the right-hand side, it's slightly different. It's not necessarily an issue. But what I noticed yesterday was Timo Werner and Udogie having like some sort of symbiotic kind of synergies is the word I'm looking for. They got that. They're on the same wavelength. I felt like Destiny Udogie knows that Timo Werner's got a propensity to sort of get offside. And so Udogie was releasing the pass half a second earlier than he probably otherwise would. And therefore, Timo Werner still received it, but the right side of the line, and had the pace to take it on. Really enjoyed seeing it. And it reminded me a little bit of the early days of Decky, when Decky forged that relationship with Matt Doherty on the right-hand side and was really instrumental in Tottenham kick-starting that first Conte season in the second half until Conte got Matty cashed. Until Doherty got Matty cashed away at Villa, right? And after that, everything fell apart because Decky never really forged a relationship with whoever else it was. Was it Aurier or I forget who the other right back was at the time? Do you think? Are you seeing something similar in terms of certain relationships that are starting to forge and merge between this group of players? And if so, where, who, and where are the relationships that have the chemistries that haven't quite gelled just yet? Dave, I'll start with you on this one, mate.
Look, I understand what you're saying in terms of balance, Sean, but I think we have to understand that two fullbacks are asked to do different things. Porro's asked to become inverted and play as a centre midfielder, and then Adogie's asked to make inverted runs, but gets forward, still underlaps people going forward. He's clearly told to get a lot more forward than what Porro is. Look, for me, I wonder, will that change when Papa Matasar comes back? Because usually that right-sided midfielder is the one that is supposed to get over there and support that winger. And Papa Matasar has done that this season. Yeah. When he hasn't been there, Whether it's been a Højbjerg, whether it's been a Skip, that winger has been completely isolated out there. And I don't think it's very fair. I do wonder, at some point, should Postecoglou switch it? Should Edozie be the one to come into midfield? And should we be using Porro's technique, his delivery, his crossing ability, his passing, to get him to be the one underlapping going forward, to get him the one into crossing positions, passing positions a lot more? Because I do feel he's better on the ball than Destiny Edozie. So I think maybe you could see a switch like that. But I think the reason why he has it the way he does is ideally Edozie takes players with him, and Son is the one on the ball in that situation. It frees him up to give him an option to go inside or outside. Whereas on the right-hand side, Kulu constantly wants to cut back inside. So I don't think, no one really goes running on the outside of him and pulls anyone with him. So whoever's on the right-hand side has a lot harder job than the winger on the left-hand side. But look, for me, I think it's pretty much okay. I think that the issues that we've ran into is that whether I like a certain squad player or you like a certain squad player, at the end of the day, when they come in, you win one, you lose one, and we have to put a stop to that. We just have to get a better squad put together. You won't see a drop off. Everyone will absolutely be at it. I think you'll see a lot of changes on the pitch. A lot of what we spoke here about today about being killers. If they genuinely had players challenging for their position, you wouldn't see them drop off like that in games. They would keep going. So I think a lot of what we spoke about today would be sorted out with just a bit of a better squad, personally.
Yeah, love that, Dave. Love that, Dave. Johnny, I don't know if you noticed the same sort of thing with regards on the left-hand side, Timo and Udogie kind of getting some early chemistry. And if so, like, there's a lot of people in the comments are saying, why, when are we going to talk about Decky? He's not really doing it at the moment. He's having a bit of poor form. Brennan Johnson mentioned, in his post-match interview, he had a bit of poor form and he was recognizing it, rightly got dropped. Do we need something to be clicking more on the right-hand side? And if so, how do we improve there? Is it Pape Sarr, to Dave's point, or is it
I agree with
else?
everything Dave said about Pape Sarr. I've been saying it all the time, right? This system is an absolute ball breaker. Okay, you can't, the gaps. I don't like, there's no flexibility with handball, right? It is what it is. Teams come to the stadium, you go and play the game, right? Sean Dyche be looking at Spurs, right? This is where we're going to play over the top, right? Draw the wingers in, and then just play that ball quickly into the space, right? Pape Sarr's the only one that can cover that ground. He's the only one with the legs to get across. He's getting across to the left. He's going to get across to the right. It's an exhausting system. And as Dave said, neither of the two current Højbjerg or Skip can fill that void, in my opinion. In the second half, we saw what happens when you stop the inverted. You have to have flexibility, right? We went from a vacuum pack to expansion pack, right? Straight away, beginning of it's
to a hot air balloon.
It's like, yeah, but I mean, look what happened. Suddenly he's running in space. That's where Edozie, if he's inverted, what he's doing is running into players. When he's out wide, he's running into space. That's what we saw at Udinese when he's playing as a wing back. And that running into space, Timo is got a great football IQ, and he understands where he should be running to give Edozie that space. He made himself available. He pulled wide as Edozie came inside. He pushed the ball to him. He carried on with his run. So, yeah, there's synergy there. But I don't want to see us go back to the inverted. I want to see flexibility to come in and out. That first half was all one way. And as for Kulu, Dejan predictability. Right, look. I've been the one consistently said, like, the guy needs to move inside and he's going to be fantastic, right?
Yeah.
You have to grab your moment in football, right? This is his chance. You've talked the talk. You want to be a 10, you could be an 8, you could do this. You haven't shown it, mate. You haven't shown it. And what's the most disappointing thing for me, at his age, right? When you're so one-footed, I want you to go out on the training ground every single day after training, working on your weaker foot, right? I don't care. Harry Kane that came into the team was not the Harry Kane that left us, okay? He evolved. He He wasn't a naturally gifted footballer. He became a naturally gifted footballer because he bloody worked at it. And, when you look at the Harry Kane that was here, when Ericsson left, there was a void there. So what did he do? He started to drop deep and started spraying the ball. That didn't come by magic. That came by him working at it. And I don't see Decky. There were moments in that second half. Shoot with your right foot. It doesn't matter if it doesn't go in. Right, they're running back towards goal. Shoot, it doesn't matter. Deflection. It gives an opportunity.
I heard the crowd. The crowd were getting really frustrated with Decky in the game. You could hear
honestly, stop, man. Stop with a cut back. Right.
Yeah.
It's too much, right? Just have a shot with your right foot.
In this system, you're right. Look, he constantly wants to cut back inside. It's his favorite foot. If you're not going to play him through the middle in certain games, you've got to move him onto the left-hand side and maybe put Werner over on the right-hand side or something like that, because, sometimes with Werner, he's looking to cut back in on his right-hand side, and sometimes the chances are gone, like at times it was yesterday. In the first half, he was trying to cut back on his right-hand side. When you need that ball to be coming in first time with your left, put Kulo out there, let him do it.
I'll be honest with you. If Sonny was back tomorrow, I'd be playing Sonny on the left, Richie through the middle, and I'd be playing Timo Werner on the right-hand side.
Basically. Yeah, or vice versa, right? Or Sonny on the right, Timo on the left, whatever. Yeah, listen, I completely agree. I think the last thing I was just quick on this, I've got a couple of super chats here, but I'll do them first, and then I'll come back to it quickly because we're going to round off in a few minutes. But Shafay Shajad, appreciate you, my man. Obviously, from your icon, your photo, I can see you're a Formula One man. This means very little to me, apart from I'm pretty sure Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari is a shock. So I'm not sure if that's good news for you or
it's a shock.
It's a shock. Big news. One phone call between Big Ange and Mbappe is all I ask for. Anything can happen. We'll see if anyone can convince him. I think Big Ange could. I appreciate the support, mate. Shafay, very nice of you. Jory's in the house. Good to see you, Jory. Saying spot on. Timo, Sean, man of the match for me. Big up, lads. Yeah, look, I thought Timo was absolutely exceptional. I think he's growing into his role, and also, by the way, boost gumps is my new favorite word. I don't know if you guys saw his post-match interview. Yeah, it's when I hear the crowd, they stop. You have boost gumps. What
was the most disturbing thing was why did he start talking like Eric Dyer?
Stop.
So true. Eric, we won the Audi Cup. Yeah. Eric, what are you doing?
Is the German here?
And Elvis G saying potty mouths. Yeah, Dave and Johnny potty mouths. You might as well fill your boots now. You might as well. We've got limited ads. So
it's Dave. He said,
do you know what? Do you know what? As an Irish person, right, swear words are thrown in to conjoin sentences. So I really do try my best to filter myself on here. Guys.
One in the last one. You can swear. Everyone else can swear. I watch everyone's channels and I hear everyone swear all day long 1,000 times, and none of them suffer from limited ads. The second that someone even breathes a swear word on here, bang, it goes orange.
That's what I tried to filter myself,
I didn't think Housery
but it clicked on. But listen, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. I've got used to it.
Shousery.
Shousery, yeah. Just on the Decky thing. So we went in at half time and then we come out the second half and we have just Højbjerg as the only recognised kind of 6 or 8 on the pitch. And we're playing almost like a 4-1-3-2, I guess you'd call it, right? Within 46 minutes, we score 3 goals in 7 minutes. And are we then, is part of the reason why it became so helter-skelter in the second half, Dave? Because whilst I thought Højbjerg did really, really well, like there was no support defensively. You also had an Udogie and a Pedro Porro getting forward. So basically there was only 2 centre-backs and 1 somewhat recognisable defensive midfielder, and everybody else on the pitch was an attacking player. And you've gone 3-1 up, you've got something to defend, but everyone that's on the pitch is an attacking player, so you have no real option apart from to just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely an element to that for sure. I also just think we got too big-headed after being 3 up and started being very sloppy in possession. Adoji's back pass didn't help. Vigario tried to warn him that Tony was there. He obviously, I think he copped it too late and was already swinging his boot before he seen that Ivan Tony was there, which didn't help. And near the end of the game, they came late on, only a couple of brilliant headers from Romero, sort of stemmed that flow. But I think that definitely has something to do with it, Sean. That. I don't think many people look. Brennan Johnson, one of his biggest assets, isn't tracking back, right? Werner, one of his biggest assets, isn't tracking back. So yeah, I'd say that has a strong element to do with it. At times, I've seen Richarlison deeper than some other players, which shouldn't happen, to be brutally honest. But look, that's one area I do think we need to tighten up on, or at least just be a bit smarter. Pull down counters earlier. Just don't allow them to sort of get out. But I do think a large part of it is because we got too big-headed and became very sloppy in possession again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the way we play, right, the way we're set up is to control possession and get bodies forward into the final, into the opposition's half, and a lot of bodies into the final third. That's why when we're in possession, we have to be so damn good, almost as good as City. Because if you don't, that ball gets turned over, and you're left with Romero and Van de Ven back there. And we've seen how easy it is if the opposition have one striker, two wingers like Man City did overlapping, creates a lot of space for them going forward. So I think a lot of it comes down to us just being a lot better in possession. Even the first goal, I mean, Adoji just lost the ball on the halfway line. He has to realize where he is, that if that ball gets taken off from there, we're going to be countered and there's a good chance they can score. So it's just about everyone on the pitch just being a bit more streetwise and stop getting so comfortable or complacent, I would say.
If you're worried why I've just changed into black and white, it's because when I leave here, I'm going on the Newcastle street.
I thought you were going to rob a bank, to be honest. When that pulls down, it's a balaclava.
No.
Guys, we're going to wrap it up. We've got one last super chat that just came in. Thank you so much, Jory. Again, it says the jig is up on the double invert. They flood the midfield with players and targeted Udogie on the transition. We need a wide transition plan B. I mean, Jory, it's a brilliantly fascinating question, and I'm going to give Johnny. Johnny wants to agree. I think I'm going to give Johnny the last say on it. Is the jig up on the double invert?
I just think you have to have a variation, and it's great if you've got you've got philosophy, and but I don't want to hear there's no variation. We don't change, mate. No.
You need
you
to.
have
you
to
need
change.
to have something. Yeah.
You have to have a variation. I don't hear Pep say, no, that's the only way we play. I mean, when he came to play us, he compressed the game so much because he knew he had no creative midfielder. So he compressed the game. So we had nowhere to go. We didn't have anyone that was good enough to unlock it. He just stifled us and strangled us. He outmaneuvered. Forget the better players. Tactically, he done us.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank, tactically, done us in the first half, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Unai Emery, David Moyes. There's lots of situations. Listen, last year and the year before, I was sitting there, Dave will attest to this. I was saying the one thing I hate about Bournemouth as well. The one thing I hate about Conte is it's always the same thing. It's stubborn, right? It's it's only plan A, and it's the same thing all the time. As much as I prefer this version of plan A to that version of plan A by 100x, I still would like a plan B at times and something else to dabble into. I don't think
variation, right?
A variation of it, yeah. Just I think there are some tweaks. I think the idea that we never do anything different at all is a stretch. I think there are some tweaks to it, but we're going to have to adapt at some point because the higher the sample size of Ange Ball, the better teams are going to get at playing against us. Dave, I'll give you last words, mate, and then we're going to wrap up.
Look, it's easy. Just switch Udogie and Porro's roles. Get Udogie to be the one that drops into midfield if teams are catching Udogie on the outball, and get Porro to be your outball then, and get him to be the one that does what Udogie does. And, it's just about being smart with sort of winning games and clocking. Okay, team set up this way, switch it to the other side. Let's see how they do there.
Fascinating conversation, guys, as always, with the two of you. First and foremost, I want to say massive thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging around and being a participant. I love the comments, the questions. I've been bringing them all up as best I can. Dave and Johnny, where can people find you? Johnny, where can people find you, mate?
People can find me at the moment underneath my table. Johnny H. Oh, where am I?
Here we go. I've got it here.
There we go. Johnny H. 32. I got all discombobulated there. Is that a word that can get you stopped on monetization? Johnny H. 32. Give me a follow there. I'm also on Tottenham on Tour. If you want to have a look back, I did Anger Management today, where we discussed the game, yesterday's game. You can find that Tottenham on Tour, Anger Management. And if you give me a follow on Twitter, if you get time, if you go into my bio, I'm trying to build up my Instagram account after 9,500 followers got wiped out for a triviality. And it's always a pleasure to be here. Well, devil's advocate. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock.
Do you know what it is? Normally it would be like everyone knows what time of the day and the week it is. You know, Dave and Johnny know. But recently I've become so bad. I'm like, oh wait, it's Thursday. We didn't even do devil's advocate. I need to speak to them. And then luckily these guys are willing to put up their, to hand over some of their precious times. I really appreciate it, guys. Make sure you do hit Johnny up on Twitter. I will put his link's already in the description as always, but I'll put the Tottenham on Tour in there as well. I don't have that in front of me because we've got to wrap up. Dave as well. What is going on over on the Irish Hotspur? We're going to be talking in a little while, aren't we? About an hour's time.
Yeah, I think we're going to kick it off around 7. Might be a small bit after, depending on who's late, who's not. Usually it's me that's late anyway, so don't worry about that. But yeah, basically, we're just going to be doing a transfer window roundup. I was actually going to do it tomorrow, but because today's so dead, may as well get it over and done with tonight so that I can concentrate on the game tomorrow. So if you want to tune in, I'll have Sean on. I'll have Sim from We Are Tottenham TV as well. That starts at 7. Get over and smash the subscribe button. And also make sure you smash the subscribe button here. Shawnee's absolutely taking over YouTube by storm at the minute. You know, he's doing really, really well. So keep showing the love to your boy. And on Johnny, he goes to every game. He provides great sort of match day content on Twitter and stuff like that. So make sure you follow him for that as well. Guys, really enjoy the show. I actually love this show every single week. It's just one of them. It's cool, calm, collected. You know, we get a lot off our chest. So thank you very much, guys, and thank you to the Spurs Talk Show chat for putting up with me.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Listen, I haven't, Jacob. I've just seen you on WhatsApp. I haven't got time to get. I've got to go, mate. My dinner's on the table. I'm getting screamed at from downstairs. Guys, everyone, get yourself over to the United Spurs of America. I can't do the redirect, but Jacob's channel is live, I think, right now, or going to be live in a second. So get over to support him as well. Get over to Tottenham on Tour. Get over to the Irish Hotspur at 7 o'clock for our stream. Guys, love you all. Thanks again for everybody. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.